Alright, this problem child is a Singer 2502C, and as you can see from the stitch test, it is only catching the left hand side of the zigzag, and it is missing most of the right hand side of the zigzag. Now, because this rotary hook is constantly traveling counterclockwise, that zigzag missing is going to be because the needle is too deep. So this is the far left hand side of the zigzag, and there's the hook passing behind the needle, and the needle is still an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch below that hook, and that is too deep. And what that means is, on the other side of the stitch, when it's over on the left hand side, it is plunged too deep to make a loop for the hook to catch. So I'm gonna get the and there is some play in the gears in this machine, but I am going to inspect the gears on this to make sure they're not getting ready to fail, and then I need to open the end of this up and lift that needle bar up. Alright, 2502C, the end cover has one screw that holds it on, covers the lamp, and here is the screw to get that needle bar to go up and down. And moved. And then I have to peer in and check where the eye of the needle ended up, but I think we might have got it, and this is just, you know, trial and error, carefully lifting that up and down and checking the stitches. And every time you change this screw every time you loosen this and tighten it, you need to be certain that you're keeping the needle bar square and you're not rotating it while you lift it up and down. Okay, now this is that 2502 that had the needle bar height problem, and I fixed that needle bar height problem, and immediately there was a new problem, because I replaced the bent needle that was in it with a straight needle and discovered that the scarf adjustment was wrong. So the hook was too far behind the needle scarf, and it stopped picking up any thread at all once I had a straight needle in the machine. The needle bar height was correct, or was incorrect, and I had adjusted it to where it belonged when I was using the bent needle, but then I discovered the whole head, front to back, was in the wrong spot. So to fix that, there are, and this has been corrected and it's stitching beautifully now, but if you have a machine with a bent needle and you put a straight needle in it and suddenly it won't make any stitches, double check to make sure that hook and scarf spacing is correct. Alright, so to move that scarf spacing, on the front there's a screw inside the bottom cover, and on the back this screw behind that lower cover. You loosen those two screws and then the entire head of the machine rotates forward and backward. That moves the needle bar and the presser foot as a single piece, and that gets the needle bar forward and backward to adjust that scarf spacing. One more note about fixing that scarf spacing. There's the two screws front and back here that you loosen, and then this whole assembly moves forward and backward to adjust that scarf. And I had to do the needle bar height, which was also off on this machine. There are timing marks on this needle bar, but they're all on the top up under this cover, and this cover is kind of a pain to get off. So if you're really out of whack, you can get that cover off and use the timing marks that are on the top of the needle bar. But since the clamp screw is right here and this cover is hard to get off, I usually do it by hand unless I have to take the top cover off of this off of machines like this. One last issue with this machine was this easy thread tensioner here. So the easy thread tensioner has a gap here underneath it. The thread comes down and around and goes up, and it's supposed to slip from the outside of when you wrap it around. It's supposed to slip under this plastic cover and get put right in the tensioner. It's a standard style tensioner just hidden behind a plastic cover. It's supposed to pop in exactly like this. However, this plastic cover is held in place on this peg, and if you push it tight all the way on, then the gap behind that cover will be in the wrong spot and will occasionally, and of course now it's not going to do it that I got the camera on. Well, it'll cause drag, and it will occasionally flip the thread behind the tensioner so it doesn't hook under the spring or in the proper place. To fix that, you just have to pop that out a little bit to make sure that this gap underneath is wide enough to drop the thread into the tensioner where it belongs, instead of pushing the thread behind the tensioner. Alright, this easy thread, this cover guide to get the thread into the tensioner is such a problem that you can even access that adjustment without taking this end cover off. So if you've got a machine like this with the easy thread system, you can look right in the space and make sure that your thread is actually going through the tensioner properly and getting under this spring. And if it's not going under the spring, it's slipping behind here where it's not tensioned properly, you can get a screwdriver in and up onto that tab and just pop this guide out so that it will let the thread in properly.